Welcome back to more Umineko when they cry. So where we last left off, there were like two servants that were introduced. One that goes by Kanon, who is more of a stoic. He's not really the sociable kind of person. Although with Jessica, she's kind of a bit have a concerned look on her face whenever he tries to like come and aid. And then there's Shannon, which is the one of the maids. She's clumsy, and apparently Natsuhi just has some sort of dislike towards her. I mean, then again, she's the she's really one of those type of people who's just impatient with Shannon. Out of all, I don't know about Kanon, but that could be it in most cases. So the battler George and Jessica were up at the staying at the guest house, house sitting, while the rest of the relatives just having this little tea party of the sort. Anyway, let's just continue reading. They were acting as though this tea needed to be tested for poison before it could be drunk. In Natsuhi's eyes, this was an insult both to the tea and to herself for serving it. Rudolph laughed flippantly and patted Eva's shoulder.
姉貴に銀食器なんていらねえだろ。
Silver cutlery? See, and I thought silver is the one way to test whether it's poison or not.
毒舌の姉貴が一舐めしたら、銀の皿だって真っ黒に曇っちまうぜ。
Oh, a little bit of shots fired.
わしはその毒舌を毎日聞かされとるから、もう毒に耐性がついてしもたわ。エヴァもわし相手には構わんが、耐性のない相手にはちいと加減せんとな。
あらあら、ひどい。シャノンちゃんにお茶の知識を教えてあげただけじゃない。
Everyone followed the lead set by Hideyoshi's horse laugh and chuckled, though not easily. Only Natsuhi didn't join in, but for the time being, the conversation inside the parlor could now be mistaken for a lively and friendly chat. As Shannon finally finished setting the tea table and tried to leave, Kyrie apologized to her in a low voice for not being able to help. Shannon gave a light bow and made a hasty retreat. She's like, fuck that, I'm out. Shannon cast her eyes downwards as she pushed the cart down the corridor. Anyone seeing the pitiful way she looked might easily conclude that she'd been bullied in some way. Is it by Natsuhi the most or Kraus? Either way, both of them are just, they could be assholes in some sort. A bully in some way.
気を落とさないで。姉さんは何も悪くない。
見てたのね。
Seems Kanon was watching from the distance.
そういうお役目だから。奥様もエヴァ様も地獄へ落ちろ。
Eva-sama can go to... What did Eva do?
でも、それより卑劣なのはあいつだ。
Kanon glared hatefully in the opposite direction of the parlor. The preparations for the tea had been delayed by some trifling problems in the kitchen. These problems were not Shannon's fault. In fact, it had been Golda's mistake. After all, there was no way a show-off like Golda would give up a flashy job like bringing in tea when the guests arrived. He has ended up wasting time preparing the tea once again. How do you waste time on preparing tea? It's not like there's any fucking way of using instant tea unless there's some, some traditional way of making it. Fuck that. Let's not use, pour boiled hot water and put a tea bag in here. No, let's just do it the old-fashioned way, you know? Prepare for the tea once again. So when he realized he wouldn't be able to score any points for this job, he pushed the task of setting the table on Shannon, who happened to be passing by. You might call it a clever move on his part, but there could be no doubt that it was a cowardly one.
いいの。ありがとう、カノン君。私、全然気にしていないし。
Dude, I wouldn't really partake in this servant job. And anytime get, if I ever worked under their mansion, I'm like, no, fuck that, I'm out. Even if even if it pays me extra. Kanon's silence vividly expressed the distance between Shannon's words and how she actually felt.
ありがとう。カノン君だけでも分かってくれたんで、ちょっと心が楽になったかな。
姉さんは心にいろいろ溜め込みすぎる。たまには自分に優しくしてあげて。
うん。ありがとうね。
Suddenly, they both felt someone's presence and whirled around. A middle-aged man stood there. It was Genji, the head servant.
そこで何をしている？
Oh, it's Genji.
シャノン、早く厨房に戻りなさい。
あ、はい。失礼いたしました。
Shannon humbly obeyed and promptly made to push the cart and leave. However, Kanon appealed to Genji in silence, bearing something in his eyes that he could not express in words.
どうした？何かあったか？
シャノンは何も悪くないのに。あいつら。
やめて、カノン君。失礼しました。すぐに仕事に戻ります。
Yeah, Shannon has to put up with everyone's bullshit while Kanon is just sitting there, just like, he's just despising the ones who just bullies her.
カノン君も自分の持ち場に戻って。
And all of a sudden, Kanon will be like, no, fuck that.
お願い。
姉さんがそう言うなら。
Okay, he'll just go away then.
何事もないなら、そうしなさい。
はい。失礼します。
From the shadows in the hallway, an old woman wearing an apron watched over them. It was Kumasawa.
おいたわしや。シャノンさん、カノンさん。あの二人がいじめられる理由は何もないのです。しかし、ゴーダさんに嫌われているのは紛れもない事実。ゴーダさんは後ろ宮本家へいらっしゃられるまで、どこかの立派なホテルにお勤めだったそうです。そこで身につけられたというお仕事ぶりは、そりゃ大したものだとは思います。ただ、ゴーダさんはここでは最も年季の短い使用人。ご自身のそれまでの積み重ねによるプライドもあられたのでしょう。
Well, that's because he already has learning experience from his past jobs. So of course he is trying to be the perfectionist.
彼は自分より長い年季を持ちながらも、未熟で人生経験も及ばないシャノンさんとカノン君をことあるごとにいびられるのです。
Jesus. Goda, Goda is that pretentious?
また気の毒なことに夏日奥様にも嫌われております。もちろん年季という意味では奥様の方が長くこの家におられます。ただこればかりは奥様にも同情しなくてはなりません。本当に親方様も罪作りな方でございます。ご自身のちょっとした気まぐれが奥様にこれほどまでの劣等感をお与えになるとはどうして思い至らなかったのでしょう。もちろん奥様とて内心はあの二人に辛く当たる言われは何もないことを重々承知してはおります。
Then what? I don't know.
しかしそれが理屈で分かっているからといってどうにもならないのが人の心。ああ、ほいたわしや。私には何もできず、こうして物陰から見守ることしかできないのです。
So technically, you're just sympathizing with that? Whoa, shit. And the glass broke. The clock moved. I wonder what it means, really. Saturday, October 4th, 1986, at the guest house. 12:00. The four of us cousins were enjoying our stories, just shooting the breeze. Anyway, there were both girls and guys here, plus we had people over a wide spread of ages, adult, high school, and elementary school. Even if we just talked about our own lives, the other three kept listening attentively.
なんかやっと馴染んできたぜ。ジェシカもマリアも6年前からは想像もつかないくらい成長しちまったからよ。
Yeah, you seem to be pretty positive with that.
正直なところ少しだけ違和感を持ってたんだが、こうして話をしているうちに中身はあの頃から何も変わってないことが分かったぜ。
同じ言葉を返してやるよ。バートラだって6年ぶりだってのに全然変わってねえぜ。図体がいくらでかくなっても中身は相変わらずお子様だってことだな。
Man child.
マリアもお子様。マリアもお子様。
マリアだっていつまでもお子様じゃねえぞ。お子様から可愛いお姫様に成長してくんだからな。そうしたらまな板みてえな胸もすぐジェシカ並みになるぞ。そしたら揉ませてくれよ、約束だぞ。
What the fuck? But all of you are cousins, though.
揉ませる。約束する。
Oh my god. I bet Jessica just saying there, just saying like, what the fuck?
ダメだよマリアちゃん。
Okay, okay, it's just George saying, what the fuck?
そんな約束しちゃダメ。
約束したから揉ませる。マリア、約束は守る。絶対守る。
マリア、お前本当に素直ないい子だな。お前と結婚する未来の旦那さんはきっと幸せ者だぜ。
っていい話にすり替えつつ約束を保持してんじゃねえぜ。マリア、その約束はなし。 なし。
約束取り消し。おー。
やっぱりバトラ君も揃って4人で集まらないといとこが集合した気がしなかったね。この6連はやっぱり寂しかったよ。
そうだな。こういうふざけた話にはならなかったな。でも建設的な話はできてたと思ったぜ。将来に対する心構えとか受験とか就職とかよ。
Ah, yes. That type of stuff when you ever reached adulthood.
悪うございましたね。俺が来たらおまぬけなドタバタばっかりでよ。
でもマリアは今年のが楽しい。
そうだね。僕も同感。今年が一番楽しいよ。
Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone present. George Aniki stroked Maria's head, and she giggled like a happy kitten. Oh.
失礼いたします。
Oh, Shannon.
お食事のご用意ができました。
Oh, mealtime. Hell yeah. A timid knocking sound and the equally timid voice of a young woman came through the door. Jessica answered brightly.
シャノン、入れよ。バトラは覚えてるだろ？
Oh boy. Her and Battler is gonna have a bit of a field trip. Jessica stood up from the bed and opened the door. There stood a servant girl who must have been about our age.
ご無沙汰いたしております。バトラ様。6年ぶりでございます。シャノンです。
Trembling a little as she noticed me, she bowed deeply. Yep, I figured.
ジェシカにも驚かされたが、シャノンちゃんにも驚かされたぜ。あんたもすっかり美人になったじゃねえのよ。
もったいないお言葉、強烈に存じます。
しかしよ、この島じゃよっぽど食事の栄養価が高いんじゃねえのか？何を食ってどこを鍛えたらそんなにでっかいお胸になるんだか。ジェシカとどっちがでけえかちょいと触って確かめさせてもらうぜ。
Whoa, shit. With both hands poised and saliva dribbling from my mouth, I closed in. For the sake of justice and my personal honor, I like to point out that I don't suffer from some strange disease that makes my lymph nodes itch until I scratch my neck open, and which can only be prevented by fondling breasts. This is just a battler-style method of communication. Oh boy, this battler-style communication. More like a battler-style habit. If I slowly close in on her like this, odds are 8 or 9 out of 10 that I get slapped or clobbered, right? So, I can use this battler-sama original technique to spark a gag like that and break the ice. Well, it also means I really do get to touch them on that 1 in 10 chance though, right? Yeah, like that never happened. That ever happened. At that point, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon Chan's boobs, but the counter-strike had yet to come. She blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment when she realized what was going on. But she just stood there with both hands politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover her breasts. Whoa, I wasn't planning on this. Please hit me right now, or I'm seriously gonna. Which is why I was glad that Jessica chose that time to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Jessica sure is pissed.
私が感謝されんだ。お
Just like, what the hell?
いやいや、すまんぜシャノンちゃん。魅力的な胸に思わず吸着されそうになっちまった。つうか、さすがにあの間合いまで来たら犯罪確定だろ。ダメだぜ、抵抗しなきゃよ。
Yeah, it's like he has a thing for her.
ですけど、バトラ様は大切なお客様ですし。
あのな、お客様でも犯罪は犯罪。女の子の胸はだいたい10センチくらいからが防空識別圏だな。2センチ圏まで侵入してきたら、これはもう領空侵犯だぜ。スクランブル発進で即ビンタを食らわせてやれ。
Huh. It's funny how Balor, being the pervert, is teaching Shannon on self-defense. Bit of a irony right there.
そんなことできません。私たちは家具ですし。
Yeah, but why would you care though? I mean, you're getting bullied by fucking relatives around the fucking wacky ass family, so. Of course, she didn't want her breasts touched, but if a guest so desired, she was prepared to sacrifice herself to suit their wants. A girl like this needs some urgent protection.
今時こんな献身美徳な子がいるとは。軽いめまいすら覚えるぜ。でもダメだ。ダメなんだ。俺がいやらしい顔で迫る。ハットハウス。いや、エッチ。そういうお約束じゃないとオチがつかねえんだよ。頼むよ、お願いだよ。俺を引っ叩いてくれよ。こうバチンとバチンと。
お願いは聞けません。家具ですから。でも命令ならお聞きします。それが務めですから。
じゃあ命令させてもらうことにするよ。次からバトラ君が胸に触ろうとしてきたら平手打ちで反撃すること。いいね。
はい。仰せつかりました。以後そのようにさせていただきます。
Well, as long as the relatives don't like watch, we'll just file it as a fucking assault. The misinterpretation is always bullshit.
バトラ様、ご承知おきくださいませ。
And that's the thing, though. Like, if Balor is requesting her to slap him back, and the relatives to catch them, then what the fuck are they gonna do? Shannon Chen announced this while bowing elegantly to me. Her expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to show her I was fine with that.
6年前はお手伝いさんの連れ子がついでにお手伝いみたいな印象だったんだけど、すっかり一人前の使用人さんだな。今年で何年になるんだ？
はい。おかげさまで10年ほどお使いさせていただいております。
10 years? She's something. The kanji for her name are read as Shannon. Now here's another name that's far from typical for a Japanese person. Shannon. So this is Shannon, a young but experienced servant. She's normally calm and performs her job flawlessly, but she messes up when she gets nervous. Furthermore, Shannon is nothing more than a pseudonym that she uses when on duty, not her real name. So that's just her nickname of the sort? A Japanese person. Back in the day, I was a kid myself, so I accepted her name without paying much attention. Thinking about it now, though, her name's pretty unusual, even though she's not a member of the Ushiro family. Maybe it's like a servant's professional name or something. If so, that might explain why her name's so similar to Kanon-kun, that kid I met earlier in the Rose Garden. She's a long-term servant who's served here since she was 6 years old. Interesting. Her appearance had changed so much that I couldn't match her to the person of my memories, but we both knew each other 6 years ago. That shy part of her had always been there, but she did seem to have developed the allure you'd expect of a girl her age. Especially in her breasts, yes.
さっき会ったカノン君は彼女の弟なんだよ。
I see. The Nae-san thing. So, both Kanon and Shannon are siblings.
弟というわけでは。でも、私のことを姉と慕ってくれます。
Yeah, but George said it. So why couldn't we put it that way?
何か失礼なことはしませんでしたか？
I mean, he's not as a talkative type of person, so other than that, I'm not really sure.
相変わらずいつも通りだぜ。もうちょっと愛想よくすればいいのによ。もったいないやつ。
カノン君がご迷惑をおかけしたようで申し訳ございません。
別に迷惑なんか何も。同じ男としてわかるさ。ありゃ気難しい年頃だ。愛想が悪いのは当たり前だぜ。
マリアもよく言われる。愛想悪いって言われる。カノンと一緒。マリア様は愛想悪くなんかありません。一緒がよかった。
食事の準備ができたんだっけ？
はい。失礼いたしました。お食事のご用意が整いましたので、皆様をお屋敷へご案内いたします。
We're going to the mansion? Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. We realized that if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, it would actually make it harder for her to do her job. We got up off our butts to avoid interfering with her work any further.
じゃあ、お屋敷に行こうか。
Oh boy, that's gonna be fun. Sounds gonna be a fun time at the mansion.
みんなもお腹が空いてたところでしょ？
Oh yeah, I'm definitely hungry. It's not like I want to, skip a meal, you know?
だな。ゴーダさんがいる時の飯は楽しみなんだよ。あの人、どこぞの有名ホテルでシェフをやってたらしくて、かなり料理の腕があるんだぜ。
ほうほう。それ楽しみ。行こうぜマリア。ガツガツ犬みたいに食い散らかすぞ。
Then again, I love food, so what can I say?
犬みたいに食い散らかす。
ダメダメ。バトラ君の言うことはいちいち真に受けちゃダメだよ。全部冗談なんだから。さあ、行こう行こう。
Under Shannon Chan's guidance, we headed towards the mansion. Oh boy. We got a little bit of a good scenery there. Met once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward as the intimidating mansion of the Ushiromiya head family came into view. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost a half-century hanging about it. The building was gorgeous on the surface, but old as it was, equipment such as its AC and heating were apparently quite frail. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough, what with all the drafts. Haven't these people ever heard of a kotatsu? I don't know. Maybe they're boomers? I don't know. Oh. Yeah, Genji. As we entered the entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now him I remembered. Genji-san, who had been working here longer than anyone, filled the role of a head servant. So we got Genji. Runaway, whatever you call it, Genji. Head servant leading all the other servants who work for the Ushiromiya family. Has served Kinzo longer than any other, and has earned his greatest trust. Since he serves Kinzo directly, Kraus and Natsuhi think of him as Kinzo's spy. Huh. Gee, I wonder. So we got all the servants introduced, and then there's the other family under Jessica, and then there's the other slot that is like separate. Fill the role of head servant.
バトラ様、お久しゅうございます。
You seem pretty excited. As our eyes met, he greeted me with a calm, composed voice. His bow wasn't as graceful or refined as Golda's, but despite his simplicity, it communicated his feelings very well.
源氏さん、本当にお久しぶりっす。お元気そうですね。
Yeah, you look fine and dandy, good sir.
おかげさまで健やかに過ごさせていただいております。バトラ様こそご立派になられました。親方様の若き日に少し似てこられましたな。
俺がじい様に？
Why do you say that?
ってことは、さぞやじい様は若い頃モテたろうな。
You're just saying that to lighten the mood.
ここからはシャノンに代わって私がご案内申し上げます。
Oh. We're not gonna have Shannon to do the work?
どうぞこちらへ。
Shannon-chan bowed deeply and watched us leave. After that, we headed towards the dining room under Genji-san's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His appearance was exactly the same as in my memories from 6 years ago. It was as though time had stopped since the last time we met. Genji-san was an extremely quiet and diligent person. He was basically grandfather's close aide or caregiver, and you might even call him grandfather's companion of many years. In fact, it seems he was by grandfather's side even more often than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusted him more than any of his blood relatives. But I wonder how long he served. I never got the details, but I heard something about him being here since the very beginning, when this mansion was first constructed. which wouldn't mean that he's dedicated half of his life to serving here. It's easy to see why he's so trusted. As we passed through a massive hall that extended up into the second story of the mansion with no separating floor, I spotted something that hadn't existed in my memory of 6 years ago. What is that, I wonder? Ooh, the resemblance of a picture that I saw in the opening. Oh, who is this? It was an awfully big portrait hanging right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. See, this really hints at something right there. Without thinking, I stopped walking, captivated by it. Since I'd stopped so fast, Maria, who was following behind me, ran into my back.
ああ、悪い。なあ、ジェシカ。あんな絵、前はあったっけ？
Yeah, what is this? I pointed at the big, prominently displayed portrait in the hall. Everyone else stopped too.
ああ、そっか。バトラが来てた頃には、あれはかけられてなかったっけ？いつからだったかな。
確か、僕の記憶が正しければ、一昨年あたりだったと思うよ。
The year before last? Oh my.
さようでございます。一昨年の4月に、親方様がかねてより画家に命じて描かせていたものを、あそこに展示なされたのでございます。
あのじいさまがね、わざわざ描かせてか。
The portrait suited this Western mansion, and that woman in the elegant dress gave off a sense of refinement. I couldn't have guessed her age, but her sharp eyes and the strong will she seemed to possess made her look youthful. She seemed somehow different from the composed middle-aged woman you often see in famous pictures. If she'd had normal black hair, I might have assumed it was a portrait of my long-diseased grandmother in her prime. However, she had beautiful blonde hair and didn't look Japanese at all.
で、誰だい？このご婦人はよ。
Yeah, I'm curious to know. Can you explain to me who this is? Maria answered that simple question enthusiastically, as though proud she knew the answer.
マリア知ってる。ベアトリーチェ。
Beatrice.
なんだって？
He's like, what?
ベアトリーチェ。魔女だよ。
A witch?
バトラ君は昔聞かされたことない？
No. Inform me more.
魔女？って、この島の？
Of this island. Oh man. I think I already said this, but Rokinjima is a small island only 10 kilometers in circumference. However, that's actually pretty massive considering that only the Ushiramiya family lives here. So only the harbor and the area around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as when it was uninhabited. The vast and empty forest had absolutely no lights, phones, or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget your common sense as a city dweller. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come save you no matter how much you cried or screamed. Jesus. Well, I think this is a good... we're around 40 minutes in, but I'll end it from here. So next part, maybe we can find out more about Beatrice. So, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you then. Y'all have a good one.